R.C. Hickory, The Rock.
Live via satellite from Hollywood and New York City, it's Rockline, the show where you interview the hottest stars in rock and roll. Hello again, I'm Bob Coburn. Rockline is brought to you in part by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Tonight, Rockline is an evening with Todd Rundgren, and everyone who gets on the air tonight will receive a CD copy of Todd's new release, Nearly Human, from Warner Brothers Records, and the new 2-CD Todd Rundgren Anthology, courtesy of Rhino Records. So get your questions ready and call us toll-free in the U.S. and Canada, 1-800-344-ROCK. That's 1-800-344-7625, one number toll-free from anywhere in North America. Also, later in the show, we'll tell you how to enter our Pete Townsend Iron Man promotion that will bring a Rockline listener to Los Angeles to see The Who in an exclusive performance of Tommy. When it comes to rock and roll, Todd Rundgren is a renaissance man. He's a highly sought-after production whiz and studio technician, as well as a great singer, songwriter, guitarist, keyboard player, and more. In addition, Todd has also been responsible for the music on several high-profile TV shows like TV 101, Crime Story, and Pee-wee's Playhouse. Always a pleasure for Rockline to welcome Todd Rundgren. How are you tonight, Todd?
Oh, just wonderful.
Nice to have you back. Let's talk about the new album for a moment here. Tell us about your live approach to recording Nearly Human. Why did you decide to go this route, and how did it work digitally?
How did it work digitally?
Yeah, how did it work digitally? It seems like a nightmare to get it to work that way.
Yeah, well, the digital part of it actually was an advantage when we were laying it down because you get extra tracks with a digital machine. And that was the only reason why I recorded digitally, because when you've got anywhere from 10 to 30 musicians, you need all the tracks you can find. But the approach was generally to reinforce the performance aspect and demystify the technical part of it. So the digital aspect really wasn't the object. The object was to get all the players to forget about the idea that they could ever overdub anything and get them to really play the best they could while everyone else was playing.
So there are really and truly no overdubs on the LP anywhere, huh?
Well, there are a few, let us say, technical tricks to bring it up to industry standard. Like, for instance, there are various pieces to each song that were edited together. Very rarely did we get through a song that everyone had learned that afternoon and where somebody didn't make a mistake in some part of the song. So we would we might do anywhere from 20 to 30 takes or pieces of takes of the song, and then at the end I would cut them together to make the final product.
Now, it would seem to me that getting that many people into a studio live would be a scheduling nightmare. You probably had to have a production assistant just to handle that, huh?
That's true. It is a nightmare. It's the norm nowadays to overdub your parts. So a lot of people would say, well, couldn't I come in like Tuesday, lay my part down? And and I was disinclined from several standpoints. For one is it takes the edge off their performance because they always want to go back and fix something, and they're much more relaxed because you realize that if you blow something really bad, you can always fix it. So there was that aspect of it, and the other aspect is that I wanted everyone to be able to develop some kind of a vision of what the final product would be like while we were doing it, so that they could contribute to that while the music's being played. And to me, that's essentially what music is about. It's supposed to be a form of communication where you pick an idea or a range of ideas, I suppose, and try and communicate your feelings about it to somebody else, to a listener, and this provided the ideal opportunity for everybody to get together and contribute their feelings about any particular piece of music.
And this is one of the results of that collaboration, The Want of a Nail, from the new album by Todd Rundgren, Nearly Human, on Rockline. Yeah, that'll get us going in more ways than one. The Want of a Nail, Todd Rundgren from Nearly Human on Rockline. I'm Bob Coburn. We have Marcia on the line in Sterling, Illinois. She's a listener of 97X in Davenport. Welcome to the program, Marcia.
Hi. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Marcia. Marcia, name that tune.
Oh, I love it. My friends and I really love your music.
Oh, great. Thanks.
You have always been so much of an inspirational musician to me because of the fact that it seemed you always made the music that you wanted. It seemed you never compromised your music, whether it was commercial or not. And my question is, did you ever encounter any resistance from your record label, and how did you handle it?
Okay. Resistance from my label? Are you kidding? Well, as a matter of fact, I do have a special deal with the label, with Warner Brothers. They know that I have this sort of deviant streak to me, and every once in a while I'll do an album that doesn't seem to be programmable, let's say, in modern terms. So even though I have a 3-album deal with them, it could stretch to 100 albums, because if they decide that the album isn't up to quote commercial standards, they'll put it out, but they won't really consider it part of the deal. So all the music that I make will at least get released, but it may not all get promoted because I think that we both at least were honest enough with ourselves to realize that I do have this tendency to devote myself to musical concepts that sometimes don't conform with current commercial trends.
Now, what about Nearly Human? This seems programmable and promotable to me, obviously. Is this one of the ones they're going to say, yeah, that's one of the 3?
I believe they have accepted the album.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
I believe it's been accepted. Yeah.
Marcia, thanks for starting us off. We're going to take a time out. We'll return with Todd Rundgren in just one moment. Todd's in our New York Rockline studio. I'm here in Hollywood. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada at 1-800-344-ROCK. And welcome back to Rockline. It's an evening with Todd Rundgren, and we have a call for Todd from Springfield, Illinois, a listener of 100.5 FM WYMG. It's Kathy. Good evening and welcome.
Hello, Todd.
Hi, Kathy.
I'd like to say thanks for all the great music over the years. We've really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks for participating in my little musical odyssey.
Well, Todd, in your film, the ever-popular Tortured Artist Effect, it portrayed your father giving you a guitar. Was he the first person to encourage you to make music?
Well, let me see now. That's probably a little idealistic in some sense. I was never discouraged for making music, but I recall that my first experience with the guitar was my father had a guitar. I guess he had got it when he was in the service or something. It kind of sat in the basement. He never played it. But I didn't know exactly how you're supposed to tune a guitar, what the notes were. So I went down in the basement one day and picked the guitar up and tried to tune it with a pair of pliers. Got the strings a little bit too tight and snapped the neck off of it. And he wasn't particularly happy about that. But I suppose he did recognize that in some roundabout way this amounted to musical aptitude. So eventually I got guitar lessons. Really only to get my hands on the guitar. The lessons I didn't care about. But in those days, they had this deal where you could get a guitar for like $15 if you took 2 months' worth of lessons. So I took the 2 months' worth of lessons, and then I was out of there.
Nice one, Kathy. Thanks for being on. Call us again sometime. We're going to go to Atlanta now and talk to Rick. 96 Rock is our station there. Rick, you're on with Todd Rundgren.
Hiya, Todd.
Yo, Rick.
Hello from a Nexus member from the South, man.
Oh, great. An official member.
Right. I'd like to know some more about all the people that you've worked with and probably some of the interesting experiences that you've had through your really diverse career and everything. Have you ever considered writing an autobiography to tell us the story of Todd the man?
Well, I'm not really a kiss and tell kind of guy, if you know what I mean. I suppose there are a few anecdotes here and there, but for the most part, I'm not somebody who really is into the fame thing, either in terms of having it applied to myself or the way it's applied to other people. I think that it's there may be some interesting things there, but for the most part, I'm not looking to be a notorious person. I want to lead something that resembles a normal life outside of going on the road and performing and the few times in which I actually go public with my musical adventures. So in that sense, that would sort of be fuel for some kind of mystique that I don't want to create for myself. I would rather just I just want to be left alone to make my music, and really not try and make people any more curious about me as a person than they might already be inclined to be. I think anything that I have to say is more or less in the music, and beyond that, I suppose people will talk. But my lips are sealed.
So don't hold your breath in that one, Rick. Thanks for calling us. We're going to talk now to Ken in Petoskey, Michigan, listening to LAVFM in Grand Rapids. Hi there.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah, Ken.
How you doing tonight?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. I'd like to say that your new album is great. Seems
Thank you.
Of course. My question tonight is regarding your Something Anything LP.
Uh-huh.
Could you tell me a little bit about those, the recording of that LP, and what's your most memorable moment from those recordings?
Well, I think one of the reasons why Nearly Human has the concept that it does is because Something Anything was maybe the first time that I got into a studio with a bunch of musicians and played and sang everything live in one take, didn't do any overdubs. So it was sort of a proof of concept and something that I wanted to recreate in a certain way. Of course, Something Anything, we didn't pay so much attention to detail. I think one of the sessions we recorded 3 songs in one afternoon. Excuse me, and took less time doing that than recording a single song for this particular album. So in that sense, there's a little bit more of a little more self-consciousness maybe about this record in terms of the quality of performance, but the fourth side of Something Anything really embodied what I was trying to capture overall in the latest record.
There you go, Ken. Thanks. We're going to play a song right now on Rockline that was on the album Something Anything originally. Well, actually, the first one was done by Niles.
Surprise!
Guess what? It's Hello, It's Me by Todd Rundgren on Rockline. Going back a ways on that one, Hello, It's Me, Todd Rundgren on Rockline. A couple of concert dates for Todd, all on the month of July. The 10th, Santa Clara, California. San Francisco, the 12th. L.A. on the 13th. And Phoenix, the 15th. Houston, the 18th. And you'll find Todd in Dallas on the 19th of July. We'll take a quick time out, and coming up, we'll have more of your calls for Todd Rundgren at 1-800-344-ROCK, plus information on how you can win a trip to Los Angeles to see The Who's star-studded performance of Tommy at the Universal Amphitheater in August. All this and more when Rockline continues on the Global Satellite Network. And welcome back to Rockline. It's an evening with Todd Rundgren. 1 week from tonight, Brian May of Queen will be on Rockline. They've got a hot new album out. So does Todd. We're going to take a call for him right now from Fresno, California. It's Tanya, listener of 106 KKDJ. Good evening, Tanya.
Hello, Mr. Coburn. It's a pleasure to listen to your show.
Thank you.
Mr. Rundgren, I'm Miss Colson. How do you do?
Hi, Tanya.
I heard you say earlier that you're not into the fame thing, but you're being the original pioneer of music videos. Do you ever feel remorse that your role in videography is not more prevalently known?
I just hope nobody thinks that I'm culpable in this whole MTV thing. Yeah, it's fine with me because I always envisioned it as something else. You know, I never envisioned it as being a promotion for records. I thought it was an art form, but actually there are some videos that I think take advantage of the possibilities, but nowadays most record companies and most artists recognize that there's a certain power to the medium, and they use it for its promotional possibilities. So you could look at it as being sort of commercials for albums, and people that make the best ones are people who have the same kind of knowledge that people who make commercials have, which is, you know, how do you push people's buttons, how do you make them respond properly and remember the name of the product and and all the little things that will cause their little buy this light to come on whenever they're in the record store. So from that standpoint, I've never regretted not being in competition with the rest of the commercials on MTV. It's not to say that commercials can't be pleasant. Sometimes they're better than the programming, the regular programming. But I really never envisioned myself as being someone who was overly concerned about the promotion of what I was doing. I'm really sort of like I'm just a manufacturer. I just try and make a product that lives up to certain standards that I've made for myself, and then I don't really want to think about how to sell it or promote it. I think that's responsibility of people who have studied the demographics, and understand the way that these things are done better than I. So in that sense, I always have a tendency whenever it's time to do a video to try and be too artsy, and that's my problem at this point. I guess I'm not relevant, at least according to the way video is defined nowadays.
Tanya, thank you for your call. We're going to talk now with Russ in Hamilton, Ontario. CKOC is our station there. Russ, you're on the Rock Line with Todd Rundgren.
We're international.
We sure are.
How you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Pretty good.
I got a question for you. I was wondering who was your hardest band to produce and why?
Well, probably the most difficult ones you've never heard of. I recall an Irish band or two, or I think there was a band from Australia that never really that made it big in the charts, mostly because they fight you all the way. I guess the band that everyone's heard of that what I don't really consider to be like a difficult in that particular sense. I thought we basically through most of the project we were all pretty rational, but that was of course the XTC album, which Andy has made more or less a career of complaining about. So in that sense, I don't think I have anything to add to that. I don't want to give that wheel another spin. I just soon it lost its inertia. But at least in that particular case, I think the ends justified the means. Whatever happened in the studio is not really as important as the final product.
There you are, Russ. We're going to play some rock and roll by Todd Rundgren right now, a song from Nearly Human, the latest. And a reminder that each caller who gets on the air with Todd tonight will receive a CD copy of Nearly Human and the 2-CD anthology as well. This is Can't Stop Running on Rockline. Todd Rundgren from Nearly Human, Can't Stop Running on Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. A couple of more concert dates quickly for Todd. The 21st of July, St. Louis, and the 22nd, Chicago. Royal Oak, Michigan on the 24th, and Cleveland the 25th. Then you'll find Todd in Columbus, Ohio the 27th, and Cincinnati on the 28th. We're going to go to Metairie, Louisiana right now, right outside New Orleans. It's a listener of FM 100 WRNO. It's Donna. Hi, Donna.
Hi. Fantastic
Hi, Donna.
song, Todd.
How you doing?
Pretty great.
Good.
Now, here's my question. Why can't the American album cover of Nearly Human get released in Japan? I heard something about that.
It's I suppose it's very hard to understand from our standpoint. In case anyone hasn't seen the album, the part of the graphical theme is that it's got this handprint on it, and the hand has 6 fingers. It goes with the whole Nearly Human thing. But in Japan, they seem to be extremely self-conscious about anything that doesn't appear to be normal. And the Japanese record company was afraid of flack from Lord knows who, so they insisted that we don't put anything that could be construed as having something to do with handicapped people. Now, I would think an extra finger wouldn't be considered a handicap, but because think of all the things you could do with it. But in any case, that was their attitude. So we had to do a whole separate album cover for Japanese release that had only 5 fingers. Now, it doesn't seem to be as pregnant with meaning as a 6-fingered hand, but that's the breaks. That's what we had to deal with. Otherwise, it would have only been available as an import in Japan. And of course, they can still buy the import. A lot of people are likely to buy the import because CDs are cheaper in Japan as imports than they are as native releases. Really amazing. That's a really well-informed call, Donna. Thanks. You call us again anytime. We're going to talk now to Dennis as we head north of the border to Vancouver. 99.3 The Fox is our station there. And Dennis, you're on the Rockline.
Hi. How are you doing, Todd?
Real good, Dennis. How are you?
Good. even though it was about 10 years ago, roundly, that you were here in Vancouver, I want you to know there's a lot of dedicated players that are still talking about that concert.
Oh, great. Well, I'd really like to get back to Vancouver. It's such a great city.
I know, I'm here too. Okay, my question is, what plans do you have for a new Future Utopia album?
Well, we have no specific plans at this point, mostly because there's no groundswell of record industry desire to have us make one. It doesn't mean that we haven't thought about it or discussed it at various occasions. I think somewhere out there on the distant horizon there's a Utopia album to be made, but I don't want to be specific about it because I don't want to get anybody's hopes up about when it might appear. Just the other night I was listening to a CD of some Utopia material, and I still feel that the band had a certain personality about it that at least was unique and worthwhile. So if the opportunity does arise, I'm going to be right there with the rest of the guys working on it.
Dennis, thanks for the call. There are lots of us Utopia fans around. I could handle listening to some right now, as a matter of fact, from the album Utopia, Hammer in My Heart on Rockline. Hammer in My Heart, Utopia on Rockline. I'm Bob Coburn. We're with Todd Rundgren right now. Our next call for Todd from San Pedro, California. It's Liz, a listener of 95.5 KLOS. Hi there.
Hi. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Liz.
I want to tell you that you looked great on Dave Letterman.
Oh, thank you.
And I was wondering, with such a great body of work that you've done production-wise and performance-wise, I was just wondering what your dream project would be.
Dream project. Let me see here. Well, I suppose if we were only talking about dreams, I really like one of my favorite musicians is Maurice Ravel, because he's such a great orchestrator, and the kind of range available when you've got a whole orchestra. It's great to have a band with all the sounds available, keyboards and things like that, but the range between the subtlety of certain instruments and the that I like to go to music school and learn how to orchestrate and write for a full orchestra, just because it affords you such a great palette of sounds and degrees of expression to convey your musical ideas. So I don't know if that'll ever happen. To me it seems like maybe something that sort of passed me by, because when I was younger, perhaps, and I had a little more energy that I could have gone to school and learned how to do that stuff. But who knows, if at some point I find myself with time on my hands, probably the next thing I'll do is go to school and actually learn how to read and write music on paper.
Good question, Liz. Thanks for being on the Rockline tonight. We appreciate it. Call us again sometime. Our evening with Todd Rundgren will continue in just a moment. You might want to get a pen and some paper, because when we come back, we'll be telling you how to enter the Rockline Pete Townsend Ironman contest that could send you and a guest to Los Angeles to see the Who's performance of Tommy in August. It's Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. Also receive a copy of Pete Townsend's forthcoming album, Iron Man, on CD, courtesy of Atlantic Records. The grand prize winner must be 18 years of age or older, and will announce their name live on Rockline when Pete Townsend joins us for a special edition on July 13th. Again, the address, Pete Townsend's The Iron Man, care of Rockline, P.O. Box 4383, Hollywood, California, 90078. More rock and roll from Nearly Human by Todd Rundgren now. This is Unloved Children on Rockline. Yeah, Unloved Children, Todd Rundgren from Nearly Human on Rockline. Couple of more concert dates for Todd quickly. The 30th of July, Hampton Beach, Boston on the 31st, and then the remaining dates I have August 5th and 6th, New York, Baltimore on the 9th, and Philadelphia the 11th, Poughkeepsie the 12th, Toronto the 14th, and Grand Rapids, Michigan on the 15th of August. Back to the telephones to Cleveland. We're going to talk with Sue, listener of WMMS. Hi there, Sue. You're on with Todd.
An early happy birthday to you, Todd.
Oh, nearly happy. I hope it's fully happy when it gets here.
Well, I'm still waiting to see the video for The Want of a Nail, and I was wondering if you'll have any new home videos out for us. And I'd also like to know if you'd please elaborate on your excellent song, Hawking.
Let me see now. I'm not sure what you mean by home videos. If you mean videos that don't appear on MTV, I haven't been working on anything lately, but I have been involved in this whole computer thing here, this computer animation thing. As a matter of fact, we've taken great pains to book a lot of dates around Boston at the beginning of August because there's a computer graphics festival that I have to attend. A big conference that I have to attend there during that period. So it's not that I've lost interest in making video. It's just that I'm sort of I'm woodshedding at this point. Let me see now. What was the other question?
About the song Hawking.
Oh, Hawking. Yeah. Well, it's Stephen Hawking was the inspiration for the song. It's not necessarily about him because I've never met him and I've never spoken with him. I don't know what he actually thinks, but it's kind of sort of musing on the situation that he's in, and maybe people like him, where the things that everyone else takes for granted are really difficult for you. So you do things that everyone else is too busy to do, like think about the nature of the way things work in the universe, and so you gain a special knowledge that other people don't have because they're too busy doing things that seem normal in a certain way. So it's I don't know whether this reflects anybody's real feelings. It's just kind of putting myself maybe in his position and singing about what I would, how I would feel if I all the things that I took for granted kind of were taken away from me, and I still had to make some meaning out of my life.
There you go, Sue. Let me ask Sue a quick question. When you say home videos, do you mean videos that you can buy?
Videos that I could buy.
That you could buy, yeah.
And,
that's
view at home.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought she meant. I just wanted to clarify
okay.
that.
I thought to make like ones I made at home, like like in the kitchen or something.
Yeah.
Or this is how I make my favorite meal.
Sue, thanks for calling. We're going to go now to Rome, New York, and talk with Charlie. Charlie is listening to WOUR 96.9 in Utica, New York. And Charlie, you're on with Todd Rundgren.
Todd, how goes it?
Charlie.
How goes
my man.
I must tell you, I've been a fan of yours since I was like 8 years old, listening to We Gotta Get You a Woman on the radio, and you were quite the amazing man.
Oh, thanks, Charlie.
I have a couple of questions for you. I was just wondering, have you been in any kind of contact with, any of the former members of NAS, or gotten together with them, or anything of the sort? And number two is, at the beginning of the show, I know you mentioned the record labels. I was wondering about the switch from Bearsville, to Passport, and then back to Warner Brothers, and what was the reason for it, and...
Let me see now. The NAS, I hear from and occasionally see guys from the band. The last person from the NAS that I saw was Tom Mooney, and that was at I think it was at a little gathering we had at my manager's house, and that was nice to see him again. I hadn't seen him for a long time. I see Carson Van Osten various kind of odd moments. He's kind of, from what I understand, he's a big wheel in the Disney organization now. He started out after he left the NAS working for Walt Disney doing Donald Duck comic books for foreign distribution and things like that. And then he kind of got higher and higher in the organization. I'm not exactly sure where he is now, but I see him every once in a while. He's still the same old lovable guy. And the label thing is a little confusing even to me sometimes. I personally was never on Passport Records. That was the NAS. that was Utopia. At a certain point, Utopia didn't feel that Bearsville was taking the band seriously, so we asked to get off, and they let us get off the label. And so we, from then on, sort of independently produced and released our albums, and that was where Passport came in. Passport was sort of no longer exists, but it was a sort of what they call an independent label. It worked outside of the major networks. And we did 2 albums for them, and then they did sort of a greatest hit thing. And personally, I was still on Bearsville through that whole period, and then my contract at Bearsville ran out, and I got the agreement that I was talking about with Warner Brothers. We concluded that. And that was about 4 years ago. It took me 4 years to come up with an album from the time that I actually signed with Warner Brothers until I came up with the record. Part of it was because I was thinking about it, and part of it was because I had a lot of other projects that I was involved in. And maybe the biggest reason why it took me so long was because I was sort of smarting in a way from the way that a cappella was treated, which was nobody in the record companies took it seriously as a record. They just kind of like tossed it around as a negotiating point. So it took me a while to get over that. And once I got over it, then I could unself-consciously make the record that you have been hearing for the past hour or so.
There you go, Charlie. Hopefully that'll clarify things for you there. Todd is in New York City. I'm in Hollywood, and you're listening to Bang the Drum All Day on Rockline on your favorite radio station. Bang the Drum All Day, Todd Rundgren from the ever-popular Tortured Artist Effect, and that is also on the 2-CD anthology. Everybody who gets on the air with Todd tonight receives those 2 CDs and the new one, Nearly Human. We'll take a time out. We'll come back with Todd Rundgren in just a moment. Your number to call is toll-free from anywhere in North America, 1-800-344-ROCK. We're talking rock and roll on Rockline. All right, welcome back. We got a Rockline rolling with Todd Rundgren. It's an evening with Todd, and we go back to the telephones to Regina, Saskatchewan. We're going to talk with Lisa, listener of Z99. Lisa, you're on with Todd.
Hi, I'm happy to be able to talk to you.
You too, Lisa. You're the 3rd person from Canada that's called. This is unusual, isn't it?
Actually, no. We get lots of calls from Canada.
Oh, great. You must be night people up there.
My question is, if you're not really into the fame thing, then how did you get where you are, and how do you deal with it?
How did I get where I am? Well, trying to figure out where you are, I guess, is part of the problem. I think that the reason why I'm able to still make records is because of a kind of a core of people who just have this faithful attitude and go out and buy everything that I make and have some confidence that there's something worthwhile in it. So it's not because of, I guess, the usual mechanisms that keep somebody in the public eye. It's because of a more sort of like quiet and covert maybe effort by a hardcore of maybe 100,000 or so people who every time I make a record go out and buy it and pester their friends with it and things like that. So I hope that they all understand the attitude that I have. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with me and the sort of phenomena that surrounds a lot of people in music. I don't know whether people know it or not, but it's perfectly possible to call yourself a musician and really have no intention of really accomplishing anything musically. It's just a way of getting yourself in front of the public. And I never got involved in music, or at least since the Nas, let's say. I didn't continue to make music just to be in the public eye. I made music because it's something that makes me happy to do, and because of that hardcore following, I guess, of people who are interested in what I have to say. And whenever I make a record, if I think of anything, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking that out there somewhere there's someone who might be expecting this like they expect a letter in the mail or something. As far as the public at large is concerned, I think that their interests kind of wax and wane according to whether they're bored or not with whoever happens to be popular, and I don't want to compete in that particular arena. I don't want to see how many album covers I can log, how many magazine covers I can log in a month's period or anything like that. I would rather lead what most people consider a normal life. Get up in the morning and deal with your family and the normal hassles that you have to deal with, and not expect any special treatment, and just experience life in the way that most people do. And that's all I have to say about it.
I think that's enough. Well answered, Lisa. Thanks for the question, too. Call again sometime. We're going to talk with Mark now in Concord, California. 97.3 The Rocker in San Francisco is our affiliate there. Good evening, Mark.
Hi there. How are you tonight?
Pretty good, Mark. How you doing?
Pretty good. I was wondering how you got involved with producing music for Pee Wee Herman.
Well, it's they say that the only way you get anywhere in this business is by who you know, and I happen to know Pee Wee. So when he had his first season of shows, he went to people that he knew in the music business and asked them to participate, and I was one of the people in the music business who he happened to know because I happen to know him, and he asked me if I would contribute to his shows, and I said, of course. And it turned out to be probably the most fun music to write for television, because they don't tell you what to do, and they use almost everything that you write. Whereas most shows, they have a very strict what they call spotting notes. Exactly where and when the music appears, and what kind of music it should be, and what effect it should evoke, and when they ultimately get down to laying it into the picture, they may use it or they may throw it away. You may have worked really hard on something, and they'll just it'll wind up on the cutting room floor. So the best thing about the Pee Wee Show was they never told you what to write, and they used everything that you wrote.
Now, come on, we all want to know, is he really like that? I mean, when he's not on stage, is that...
In real life?
Yeah.
I have some stories about Mr. Wee.
Well, tell us.
Mr. Herman.
Mr. Wee.
Sorry. Well, when you get close enough, you can call him Wee.
Is he like that all the time?
Is he like that all the time? Well, I'm not one to tell tales
okay.
out of class.
Yes. Mark, thanks.
What would you like me to say?
The truth. That's all we want to know. We'll move to Colorado Springs. We'll give you a break here, Todd. We're going to talk to John. He's listening to Kilo 94. And, John, you're on with Todd.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, John.
I'm a big fan of yours. I've been listening to you since I was 15. I'm 30 now.
Whoa. You've gone the distance.
Yeah. I was wondering how old you were.
Oh, dear. Well, in about 10 or is it 9 days now, I'm going to be 41.
41. Getting up there, aren't we?
What's that?
My question is, do you still have your psychedelic Gibson SG?
Yes, I do.
Did you happen to get it from Eric Clapton?
Well, Eric Clapton was the original owner of the guitar, but I got it through a kind of almost sort of like a chain lead. It's a chain guitar in a way. It was passed around to a few people. I think the first person to get it after Eric was George Harrison, and then George Harrison gave it to Jackie Lomax, and then I got it from Jackie Lomax. So I didn't get it directly from Eric, but since I got it from Jackie Lomax, I've never considered giving it to anyone else.
There you go. Another good call, John. Thank you. We appreciate it. Todd, we're going to play Parallel Lines. Tell us a little bit about this song. I know it wasn't written expressly for Nearly Human. It was written for a play concerning the Beatles. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the musical, it only peripherally concerns the Beatles because it was originally written as a screenplay for the Beatles. It was written by Joe Orton, who's a now deceased playwright, and some of you may have seen the movie Prick Up Your Ears, which was the sordid life of Joe Orton. But near the end of that sordid life, he was approached by the Beatles to write a screenplay for them. He was a popular playwright in London at the time, and he did write a screenplay and submitted it. And then shortly afterwards, he was demised, as was Brian Epstein. So So this property was sort of floating around for a few years, and then somebody at the New York Shakespeare Festival discovered it and approached me to do music for it because they wanted to do a stage musical. And I was interested in doing a musical, although I wasn't interested in doing anything that necessarily had anything to do with the Beatles. So over the past 2 or 3 years, I've written the music for this thing, and this October it's going to be mounted off Broadway by the Shakespeare Festival. And whether it goes any further than that, we'll see after we get it up on the boards.
Parallel Lines, Todd Rundgren on Rockline. From Nearly Human, the latest by Todd Rundgren, Parallel Lines on Rockline. In case you don't have this address, Todd has an official fan club that puts out a newsletter. It is Utopia Times, P.O. Box 867, Canton, Connecticut 06019. More in a moment. Stay with us on the Global Satellite Network. And once again, welcome back to Rockline, an evening with Todd Rundgren. Our next call is from Raleigh, North Carolina. It's Doug, a listener of WRDU 106. Welcome to the show, Doug.
Hello there.
Hi, Doug.
Hello there, Todd. I've just been a great fan of yours for years and years and years. And by the way, I love the acapella. I don't think there's anything bizarre about that album at all. But
oh, great.
Well, my question is actually with the music industry and everything, and how it's building up again and it's starting to get really good. And I'm wondering what the next phase of Todd Rundgren will be, like after the man who's done everything. What's the next phase for Todd?
The man who's done nothing. It would be really unusual for me if I made a living off my own music. So I guess that would be the unusual phase for me, the man who did nothing. You know, the man who actually was successful at making his own music. It's not as if I'm self-conscious about attempting to do it. But everybody's making these noises like the album could actually sell, and I wouldn't complain if it did. So
there you go, Doug.
So I don't want to sound like a complete ivory tower dork. You know, I have no objection to people going out and buying the record,
plunking down some coin and taking that sucker home. Yeah, thank you, Doug. We appreciate it.
It's either that or New Kids on the Block. You know, so think about it when you're in a record store.
All right, thanks to everybody for listening and calling. The Rockline address is P.O. Box 4383, Hollywood, California 90078. That is also the address for the Pete Townsend contest. Coming soon next week, Brian May of Queen, and then Tom Petty, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Bad English. Also, we have Trevor Rabin of Yes scheduled, Stevie Nicks, and 2 special editions of Rockline with Pete Townsend and John Cougar Mellencamp. Special thanks to Eric Gardner of Panacea Management, to Richard Gitlin and Patty Oates from Warner Brothers Records, to Jim Austin and Tom Kinney from Rhino Records, also to Lauren Karasik and our entire New York Rockline production team, to John Wood here in Los Angeles, and of course to you, Todd. Thanks for being on. Nice to talk to you again. Good luck with the album. Thanks for the music, my friend.
Thanks a lot. Am I eligible for the Pete Townsend contest?
We'll work something out, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm VC. I'll be seeing you in a week. You've been listening to Rockline, brought to you in part by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Rockline is engineered by Jimmy Height, Conrad Pignon, Jim Pettyjohn, and Jeff Levy, and mixed on Yamaha professional sound equipment. Musical instruments are provided by the Guitar Center in Hollywood. Special production by Jimmy Rash and R.J. Lane. Technical direction by Mike Correa. Our assistant to the producer is Sharon Sanchez. Thanks to Kevin Stevens and Greg Jernigan for their special help. Rockline is produced by Mark Felsot. Executive producer Howard Gilman. Rockline is a presentation of the Global Satellite Network for distribution in the United States by the ABC Radio Network and in Canada by Telemedia Broadcasting Systems.
From Charlotte to Asheville to Spartanburg to everyone else in between. 95.7 WXRC Hickory. The Carolinas rock.